Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Monday, September 2nd, 2019, the 2nd of Elul 5779. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to go right to the phone right now for a very special interview with Steve Leibowitz. He is the founder and president of American Football in Israel. Israel, over the weekend, just hosted the 2019 Flag Football European Championship. It was the first time ever the European Championship was here in Israel. What a production it was. I was actually there covering the games, doing the online broadcast for 3 days. I think I covered about 16 games in total. In the intense heat, it was an amazing experience watching all these teams, so many different countries, 21 teams in total arriving here to compete, men's and women's, and it was a beautifully run and organized tournament. So many logistics that go into it, you don't even know. But the man who put it all together at the top of that of the food chain in the world of football here, Steve Leibowitz, joins us now. Steve, are you awake this morning?
I'm awake, and I'm trying to recover from a wild party that they have at the end of the tournament when everyone just celebrates. And Josh, I got to say, the thing that was most important to me is the fact that not only that it was hosted in Israel, but that this tournament was hosted in Jerusalem. This was, as far as I understand, the largest team sport major championship ever held in the city of Jerusalem. And, you know, I really wanted it here. I wanted Israel, Jerusalem should also be on the international sports map. It was very important to me that it happened, and we made it happen.
How many, first of all, congratulations on that feat, no doubt. How many total participants were there? How many players arrived, men's and women's?
Well, there's over 400 players, just over 400 players, and then there's all the support staff. There's the coaches and the trainers and the doctors and the lawyers, no lawyers, and about 100 extra people. So we were about 500 players in the city. Well, it included our team, so our team teams are part of it, and 21 teams from 12 different nations, including a couple of teams that have never played international football before, and I'll cite in particular Russia,
right,
which has really emerged on the international football scene now and made their first step in that direction into Jerusalem.
Yeah, I watched the Russian women's team on day one, and they actually gave Team Israel a run for their money when this was Russia's first international competition. That's a tribute to their coaching and, of course, to their players. So Spain wins the women's tournament, which was kind of a surprise there, and Denmark wins the men's tournament, which was no surprise at all. Denmark being one of the top teams in the world, not only in Europe, but in the entire world. If you can, let's comment on the winners, first of all. Denmark and Spain winning the tournaments, respectively.
Oh, yeah, Denmark does. This is their fifth straight gold medal, although I have to say that in the opening days, everyone, the buzz around the tournament was that Denmark is winning, but is struggling in their wins. And they're giving up a lot of points, and they can be beaten. And when it came to money time, on Sunday, they put their game face on, and they just ripped through and sailed to the gold. They're the best team of the men's teams in Europe, without a question. They're number 2 in the world currently after the United States in flag football. On the women's side, the shock, because everyone thought Austria would sail through. They're clearly the best team internationally. In Europe, I would say that they still are, even though they didn't win the championship, but the Spanish women emerged big. The opening 2 days, they only finished third in their group, barely making it to the playoff competition. They played Israel in the quarterfinal, a really, really tough game. The Spanish managed to win, and they went on to win the championship. Shocking to everyone. They've only been playing for about 3 or 4. This is, I think, their third European championship, and they have the gold. But I would still, on any given Sunday, I would take Austria.
Yeah, the Austrian quarterback. I mean, she had some moves there, like a professional quarterback. I mean, she was doing some ball fakes, and taking the defense out of it and then throwing the ball downfield. I mean, you're talking about things you see from Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints and some of these professional quarterbacks. She was excellent, and their team was excellent. So
there was no room for in flag football. The game is so short. There's often no room for mistakes when you're going against a team that's better than you. Like, you can compete, you can score against them, they score against you, but if you break down at one point, they'll take advantage, and suddenly the game's out of reach. And that apparently is what happened with Austria in their game. They were knocked off by England.
Right.
They were knocked off by the women of Great Britain, who are, I would consider them all a team of rookies, but a team of rookies that they were the only team that on Saturday, on Shabbat, instead of resting, touring, or doing, just enjoying the city of Jerusalem, they went out and spent 2.5 hours going over and over and over their system, and they came out more ready than Austria, and they beat them. That was a shocking result, but in the end, Great Britain lost in the final to Spain.
Yeah, and Great Britain there producing the women's MVP of the tournament, Marta Matthews, and we were calling her name from the broadcast booth all day long, all tournament long. She was an unbelievable wide receiver, making amazing catches along the sideline, getting her feet
She's
down.
She's a great player, but I'd rather talk about our MVP, the Israeli Danny Eastman was chosen MVP for the entire tournament.
For the men.
I was shocked, I have to say. I went over and spoke to the tournament director. I said, how was that chosen? I don't want people to think that Israel somehow influenced that choice.
Right.
He said, all the officials vote. There are over 20 referees from all the different countries. We vote. We got together. It was 15 hands immediately going up and saying number 20 from Israel.
Wow. Amazing.
I said, really? And I said to him, when I asked, when I said Israel won the MVP award, but I hadn't yet said the name in the closing ceremony, people that were listening to me thought that I was about to say Danny Mikhailov, the Israeli number 87, the receiver. And I asked, I told that to Martin Cockrell, the tournament director, and he said, well, the other 5 referees thought that Mikhailov should get the MVP award. So all 20 people thought that the men MVP award should go to one of the 2 Israelis, either Danny Eastman or Mikhailov.
Wow. I thought, as watching as a spectator, I thought that the quarterback from Italy had a chance of winning MVP. He had a phenomenal tournament.
He was a Division II college football player.
I called him
tremendous player.
I forgot his Luke something. I called him Cool Hand Luke. The way he had, just methodically moving his team down the field time and time again. Italy there
scoring
finishing
points like crazy. Scoring against Israel, he scored 56 points against Israel.
Right, and Italy getting the silver medal. And I have to tell you, I've never seen anything like this. At the end of the game, when Italy lost to Denmark in the finals of the men's, the Italian coaches and some players were literally hysterical crying, just to show you how much this game meant to them and how much they had hoped to win the tournament. In tears on the sidelines, you're talking about grown men playing football, and they were hysterical.
Josh, I have to admit to you that I had high hopes for the Israeli teams and the tournament, and running it and everything was really important to me. When the Israeli men and the Israeli women lost on Sunday, I shed some tears for my team. We put a lot of energy and emotion into this, a lot of work during the whole year to get a team ready to go to a championship. You have high hopes. You reach the medal round, you get there, and then the other team is also putting out as much as they can, and you fall short. It's heartbreaking. It is.
Yeah, and the men, of course.
You shed a few tears, you get over it, and you get ready for the next time.
Just to clarify, the Israeli men finishing in 4th, losing the bronze medal game to France, the only team that had beaten them on the first day of play. So Israel finishing 4th in the men's, the women finishing 6th. both of them had a chance for medals. And going into the Sunday championship Sunday, it looked like at least one of the teams would medal. Unfortunately, they didn't. But, Steve, I'm going to tell you here that I believe that the future is bright. I mean, this might have been one of the best men's team ever, even though they didn't medal. And the women have been consistent for many, many years now. So I think the future is bright. What do you say?
I have to say we're in the women's side, we're in a rebuilding situation. Some of our best players over the years are either in their last year with the team or no longer with the team. And it's going to be the youngsters. It's going to be the 16, 17, 18-year-old women's generation of athletes. We're actually trying to recruit more athletes on the women's side. There aren't enough women playing flag football yet in this country to choose from for the national team. And we have to improve in that side. The men are spectacular athletes. Our men put more points on the board. I haven't checked the final thing, but I think our offense was the most productive offense in the entire tournament. And on defense, we broke down. So we have to rethink some of the things that we did because we gave up way, way, way too many points. On offense, I think we've got it figured out. We've got some unbelievable talents. We'll be back. Next year is the World Championship in Denmark. We'll be there and we'll perform.
Well, certainly looking forward to that. World Championships, and I'm sure both teams, men's and women's, will already be getting ready. They'll shake off this tournament, and those who are disappointed, and they'll shake it off and get ready for Denmark.
There's some politics involved with this stuff,
right.
Josh.
I'm sure there are,
well,
and I definitely don't want to get into that too much or take away.
Say that
sure.
For 15 years I've been battling for Israel to be able to participate in tournaments without our players having to play on the Sabbath, on Shabbat.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's important.
And we're under a lot of pressure now because Denmark is planning to do its World Championship with teams required to play on Shabbat.
Interesting.
I've put my foot down, and we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it. We're going to use all the political pressure we can to convince Denmark to make accommodations. We're an important part of the international football scene. It's hard to explain, over and over to non-Jews, frankly, just how important this is to us, especially since every other Israeli national team in every other sport will play on Saturday.
Right. Then that makes the AFI unique.
I won't do it.
And that's
I won't do it.
That's unbelievable to stick to your principles. Even if those.
It's not only me. It's not only me. We're a community. This is a community of American football players here, men and women, and it includes a large percentage of people who are observant.
Right, and those.
It's just I'm not, but it's just wrong that Orthodox Jews cannot take part in national teams because their teams play on Saturday.
There actually has been some Knesset legislation, I think, in the works over the last couple of years, trying to create an environment, and I think you guys are at the forefront of that, for Israeli athletes who, until now, have been forced to compete on Shabbat, even here in Israel. And I know a friend of mine was actually working with the Knesset in Israel, trying to create a fair environment so that those who observe the Sabbath don't have to play on the Sabbath. But even those who are not observant on the team, I think it's just a general principle, which I applaud the AFI for, saying even if you keep Shabbat, don't keep Shabbat, it is the day of rest for Jews around the world, regardless of your level of observance or how you choose to keep Shabbat. But I think not playing on Shabbat is a tremendous hats off to you guys for keeping that principle. And let's hope Denmark does the right thing for next year. I know up until now, many of the countries have been very, very accommodating. And perhaps this year's tournament here in Israel and all the other teams will see that they were also given a Shabbat, even if they're not even Jewish, they were given that day of rest. Perhaps they'll realize, hey, it was an amazing thing to have a 3-day tournament over 4 days with a day of rest in between.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be the
I think it improved play as well.
Oh, yeah, for
everybody.
sure.
I think the final day was much better than it would have been if you'd have to play 3 days in a row. This is a killer of a sport. I was talking in the beginning about the late night party. I spoke to you about it. Maybe we weren't yet recording. That takes place when the tournament is over. I saw 50, 60 people like limping into the hall.
Right.
I mean, they're in pain. This is a game of constant running. It's not like even tackle football where you're in the huddle 3/4 of the game. They're running all the time, sprinting downfield, play after play. It's a tough sport.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Steve, we are nearly out of time here. Again, I just want to congratulate you for putting together a well-organized, unbelievably organized tournament. People don't realize all the details that go in, from scheduling the games, the referees, and even the team buses. I mean, every last detail taken care of by you and your amazing staff at American Football in Israel. I'm not going to list all the names, so many of them, all the different people involved, and the volunteers and the fans who come out, and everything was really done in such a high level, even the lunches, whatever. You guys did a great job, and I want to thank you so much. If anybody out there is listening and they live in Israel and they want to get involved in the league, and they want to play football in Israel, or if there are people out there, it's a nonprofit organization who want to sponsor the next tournament, the next event, whatever it is, how can people reach you, Steve?
How can you reach you? Well, you don't want me to give my phone number.
You can give your email.
Inundated with phone calls.
Email, yeah.
Email is easy. IsraelFootball@yahoo.com.
IsraelFootball@yahoo.com. Steve Leibowitz, founder of American Football in Israel some 25 years ago, and now Israel hosting top-level competitions.
Just a shout-out, Josh, to Robert Kraft, because the star of this entire tournament was the Kraft Family Sports Campus.
Right, that's where all the games were held.
Hit. It was a hit. That's where all the games were held, and it was a huge hit for everyone as a venue for international sports competition.
Steve, congratulations on the tournament. Let's hope for medals for Israel in the next time around at the World Championships. Have a great day. Get some rest. I hear your voice is a little bit off after all the talking and yelling and cheering and everything you did over the last 3 days. Get some sleep, and I'm sure you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and start preparing for Team Israel.
We have a tackle team having to travel to Turkey in 2 weeks.
There you go.
Josh. So
no time to rest.
Football is all year round.
Yeah, and it's a great game. It's a great sport, and it was a wonderful tournament. I'm just happy to play a small role in it. So thanks so much, Steve.
You played a big role. Thank you, Josh.
Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. We're going to take a short break right now. Come back with news here from Israel. Situation escalating in the north of the country and much more. You're listening to Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. My name is Josh Hasten, here on Monday, September 2nd, 2019. Chozrim LaShigra, that is the expression in Hebrew. It means going back to your routine. September 1st essentially is the end of summer. Kids go back to school. People on vacation are back at work. Things are back to normal. If you want to call that normal. Life is never normal here in Israel. Always very exciting. I wouldn't call it normal. Always exciting and stimulating and many other things here in the Jewish state. But Chozrim LaShigra, that is the Hebrew lesson of the day. We're going to take a short break. Be right back with much, much more here. Don't go anywhere.
Prime Minister Netanyahu,
Benny Gantz, Avigdor Lieberman,
Yair Lapid,
Bezalel Smotrich,
Moshe Feiglin.
What's going on behind the scenes as Israelis prepare to go to the polls on September 17th? Tune in to Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com for all the action as it happens.
And we are back. Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel at thelandofisrael.com. Get in touch with me during the week. Josh at thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or my page, Josh Hasten Israel Advocacy and Journalism. On Twitter, at Josh Hasten, and on Instagram as well. Thanks again to Steve Leibowitz, president of American Football in Israel. And again, I covered all of the online live games. Not all of them, but I covered a lot of them. About 16 games over 3 days. Let me tell you, last night, I just crashed with my glasses on, face down in the pillow. It was hot out there, and these athletes are amazing for their ability to withstand the heat and play at such a high level. Denmark, the second best team in the world, taking the championship there for on the men's side and Spain on the women's side. It was a beautiful tournament. And, of course, as Steve said, took place here in Jerusalem, the capital of Israel and the Jewish people. So very, very special. Getting to the news here, Times of Israel reports, and as does everyone else here, Saturday night, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah threatened that a Lebanese response to last week's events could strike anywhere along the border. And, in fact, there was a strike on Sunday. The Hezbollah terror group fired several anti-tank guided missiles at an army base and a military jeep just inside Israel's northern border on Sunday afternoon. We knew something was coming, and that so far was their response. Israel says, the IDF says that it launched artillery cannons and attack helicopters, firing approximately 100 shells and bombs at Hezbollah in retaliation for their strike on Sunday. Prime Minister Netanyahu saying that no Israelis were so much as scratched by the Hezbollah attack. He said the following: there were no Israeli injuries, not even a scratch. Smiling, Netanyahu said this at the opening of a Honduras diplomatic office in Jerusalem, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. The military said Hezbollah operatives fired 2 or 3 missiles at a battalion headquarters outside of the Israeli community of Avivim in the north, and at military vehicles shortly after 4:15 p.m. in the afternoon, Israel time on Sunday. Several of the projectiles struck their targets, did not cause any casualties, despite the fact that Hezbollah, they went on their TV, of course, their propaganda television, claimed that they caused Israeli casualties. Very tense situation right now in northern Israel. We will have to see how it plays out over the days and weeks ahead. I know that everyone in the north there is under high alert. Bomb shelters were opened for Israeli residents in certain areas, and we'll have to see how it plays out over the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. On Israel's northern border, of course, in the south, we're always on high alert down there also as a result of Hamas, also an Iranian-backed terror organization who control Gaza. In other news here, the Jerusalem Post reports that Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday said that Israel will apply sovereignty to all communities in Judea and Samaria. Here it says West Bank settlements. I don't use that terminology. As the Prime Minister celebrated the first day of school with first graders in the community of Elkanah, that's a Judea and Samaria community. This is, I believe the second time that the Prime Minister publicly has said he would not uproot any Jewish communities. He said, with God's help, we will apply Jewish sovereignty over all communities as part of the land of Israel and the state of Israel. And I say yes. I hope that this is. I hope that this is not just an election ploy. I hope full sovereignty will be applied over all Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, and over all Judea and Samaria eventually. He said the following: the Prime Minister said, "We are building new homes here. This is a new home. That is an old home. This is the old original home of the Jewish people, and we will build more in Elkanah. We will not uproot anyone here." He said there will be no more Gush Katif, referring to the 2005 expulsion of all Jews from Gaza and the destruction of 21 Jewish communities and 4 communities in the northern Shomron. So let's hold the Prime Minister to his promise if he, in fact, becomes Israel's next Prime Minister as well. A little bit of political news here. Former MK Moshe Feiglin, as reported by the Jerusalem Post, from the Zehut Party. The members of that party voted on Sunday to accept a deal which Feiglin reached with the Prime Minister, and as a result of that deal, Zehut would quit the September 17th race, which is only 2 weeks from Tuesday. We'll be voting in the Israeli Knesset elections once again, in return for promises of passing legislation legalizing medical cannabis and Feiglin becoming a minister. So bottom line is, Feiglin says, I will drop my party out of the race. Therefore, nobody will vote for Zehut, and all those votes will go to other, most likely, right-wing parties. So on one hand, I think that's a positive step. We need less and less parties there on the right so that votes aren't wasted, so people aren't voting for parties that don't cross the electoral threshold. That's very, very important. But not everyone is happy. Rafael Menes, who's number 5 on Zehut, thinks the deal was a mistake, saying there's no real value in Netanyahu's promises. Based on his past track record, he doesn't believe that Netanyahu will keep his end of the bargain, whether it's the legalization of cannabis or giving Moshe Feiglin a ministerial post. I remember several elections ago when Moshe Feiglin was in the Knesset with the Likud party. The prime minister was not happy about that. There was a big Likud event. I think it was a central committee gathering of some sort. Somehow I was there, and the prime minister didn't want to have anything to do with Feiglin. Now the two are working out a deal here in which Zehut will drop out of politics. So bottom line, it's all politics, folks. One day your best friend is your worst enemy and vice versa there. Feiglin now working out a deal with the prime minister. Personally, I think it's the right move that Zehut dropped out. I don't think they were going to cross the electoral threshold, and it would just have been a bunch of wasted votes. So I think that is positive. Also reported by the J-Post, we mentioned it before, Honduras is on its way to opening an embassy in Jerusalem. On Sunday, yesterday, they inaugurated a diplomatic trade office in our capital. Prime Minister Netanyahu said in an interview by his Likud party, which was posted by his Likud party on Saturday night, he said that this is good news. U.S. Envoy Jason Greenblatt also welcomed Sunday's opening of the Honduran trade office in Jerusalem. And I believe that the Prime Minister of Honduras, President rather, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who arrived in Israel yesterday, said, "For me, it's the recognition that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel." So another country, while they do not have an official embassy yet, Honduras looks like they're moving into the realm of the U.S., Guatemala, and everyone else who is finally recognizing that Israel's capital is Jerusalem, and therefore their embassy should be there. This is a step in the right direction. And while we started with sports news, we're going to finish again with sports news. Israeli judoka Sagi Muki crowned world champion in Tokyo. This was an unbelievable event as the Israeli flag raised and the singing of Hatikva. Muki, 27 years old from Netanya, wins gold at the 2019 World Championships in the under 81 kilogram weight class. And of course, what was interesting, which should not have been a news item, but the fact that he defeated an Egyptian in the semifinals, and the Egyptian fighter refused to shake his hand. This is not the first time we've seen this type of behavior by Egypt, by Egyptian athletes refusing to shake the hands of Israelis. Nevertheless, the Israeli Muki beat him. At the same time, an Iranian would-be opponent refused, this reported by the Jewish press, by the way, a would-be Iranian opponent during the tournament refused to even fight him. Okay, so we have Iran not even willing to fight a Jew, Egypt not willing to shake the hands of a Jew, and that is the reality. So what was the best way to stick it to them all? Sagi Muki crowned world champion in Tokyo in Judo. Unbelievable. Beautiful, beautiful to see. That's going to do it for today, folks. My name is Josh Hasten for September 2nd, 2019. You're listening to Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Get in touch with me during the week, Josh at thelandofisrael.com. I appreciate each and every email. Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism. On Twitter at Josh Hasten, and on Instagram as well. Big shout out to Ben Bresky, for all the work he does behind the scenes, editing these shows and getting them up, along with Tabitha Epstein, who does so much behind the scenes as well. Have a great week, everyone, from Jerusalem. Most importantly, between now and when we speak again, please God, next Monday, everyone out there in the wonderful world of ours, be safe. Shalom, shalom, from a beautiful day here in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people in the state of Israel. Shalom.
Zionism, political and secular, says Ben-Gurion, held that Israel must be redeemed by its own efforts and by natural agency, that the Jewish people on its own must create the foundations of a new life. Well, I'm definitely looking to found a new life for my people in the land, although I'm not so sure we can do it on our own. Because I'm Rav Mike Foyer, and this is The Jewish Story.
Join Rav Mike Foyer for the best Jewish history podcast, The Jewish Story, on the Land of Israel Network at